Quiet. Good evening. Welcome to our Township Board meeting for Grand Blanc Township, Charter Township here on Tuesday, May 30th. If we could all rise for the pledge, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. Clerk Robertson, can you call the roll, please?
I would be happy to call the roll. Trustee Hugo is absent. Trustee Fike is absent. Trustee Raridan.
Here.
Trustee White.
Here.
Treasurer Kilmer.
Here.
Myself, of course, I'm here. Supervisor Bennett.
Yes.
5 members present, a quorum.
Thank you. At this time, I would seek approval of the agenda with one change, and I would like to ask that we would move up item A under new business to make it item B under recognition, so that the board would consider a motion for the resignation of Vince Bandersky, and we have a presentation that we would like to present as well at that time.
I'll make the motion to adopt the agenda as amended, Mr. Supervisor.
Okay. Is there support? Support. Treasurer Kilmer.
Okay, agenda as amended, myself, motion, and who did Kilmer supported? Yes. Okay, support by Kilmer. All righty. Motion, support by Kilmer. Bear with me a moment. All right, Trustee White.
Yes.
Trustee Raridan.
Yes.
Myself, yes. Treasurer Kilmer.
Yes.
Supervisor Bennett.
Yes.
5-0, motion passes.
Thank you. At this time, we will open the floor for public comment. We have the public comment cards if anybody hasn't filled one out, but if you would like to make public comment, we'd welcome you to the microphone at this time. Okay. Seeing nobody that would like to make public comment, we will close public comment and bring it here to the board. And at this time, we're very excited to introduce some special guests this evening. We have from Mason Elementary, Mrs. Snitko's class, and they're going to read some poems for the board. So, good evening, Ms. Snitko.
Good evening. I'm Tammy Snitko, and I'm a 5th grade teacher at Mason Elementary. Thank you so much for having us here. Thank you for all that you do. My mom was a treasurer at Richfield Township in Davison, and so I know a little bit about all the work and effort and time you put into your task here, so thank you for that. I have the wonderful job of working with these awesome 5th graders, and my authors have written some poetry, had a lot of fun with it. Some of the topics were summer or winter in Michigan, and a little variety. Michigan itself and summertime coming, and then home, and then some poems they just had a little bit of fun with. So they enjoyed writing them. I hope you enjoy hearing them as well. So thank you, and good luck to you guys. Pass that down to Ira.
Hi, I'm Claire, and this is my poem.
Hi, Claire.
The 4th of July. It's a nice summer night, not a cloud in sight. Dad's grilling, mom's chilling, children running. Young ones playing, older ones sitting, most are swimming. The road is hot and so is the air, no kid wants to share. No cars driving, the street is bare, the sun is setting, little ones saying it's not fair. Sparklers are lit, children of all ages running to see, fireworks blasting, what a sight on the 4th of July.
Wow.
Hi, my name is Reagan, and this is my poem. Where have all the children gone? All the children are here for now, but where will they be when the sun goes down? One by one, child by child, each one disappears as the temperature gets more and more mild. The air is misty, the swings are creaking, birds are tweeting, but there are no children. So how are the swings creaking? All the children are gone, and will they be back by the break of dawn? Or are they all officially gone? This is my second poem. The beach. I step in the sand, my feet sink in, but then I pause to watch the waves begin. People are surfing, others are tanning. I hear a whoosh and then I feel brave. Run and jump into the beautiful water, crystal clear, warm too. This is my wish to be here with you. My name's Ava, and this poem's called Snow. The snow is falling, my mom is calling. I watch the blizzard without a care and the frozen air. It is all warm in the house. I think I saw a mouse. The window glows. I find my lost bow. I sip my hot cocoa. Hey, my dog Coco. My cat Lulu. Did Coco do a poo-poo?
I'm Ira Thompson, and my poem is called Home. Home, I love it so, that's why I'll never go. While grandma's healing, the dog is peeing, I love it to the core. While my dad's praying, mom is playing, I never love it more. I try to flip, mom says don't trip, my aunt is cheering me on. But I didn't listen, mom's eyes have glistened, and now I'm mowing the lawn.
My name is Scarlett McNamara, and this is my poem, Michigan. Go blue, go green, everything here is meant to be. To the lakes, in the spring breaks, in the woods plus the books, to the trees, even the bees, everything here is meant to be.
I especially like that go green part, right, Matt?
Go blue.
My name's Eli Holmes. My name's Eli Holmes. This is my poem called Summer Night. Hot blazing warm nights, friends by my side. Using flashlights, kids hiding everywhere, waiting to be found. Long, long night, shh, no one make a sound. Hi, I'm Mackenzie Byarski, and this is my poem. Summer's traveling to Black Lake. All of us need a break. We are ready for the 4th of July to embrace the fireworks in the sky. It's one special feeling, racing while four-wheeling. The games are fun when we're in the sun. There's nothing I would change. I hope to breathe in the up-north air, riding in the car with wind throughout my hair. It's something that makes me happy, walking through the woods with the trees all sappy. It's something close to home, with a path made out of stone. It's a bright, comfy cabin that we hug and cry and laugh in. Up north is a place of love, with birds soaring high above. And this is my second poem. It's the summer fair. We ride the cliffhanger, soaring through the air. They sell Faygo Pop in the stands. We stay with friends holding hands. We sit in the crazy pirate ship, hoping it doesn't fall and slip. I watch my friend get on the Gravitron. I was too frightened to even get on. The Sizzler twists and turns. The metal gets hot from the sun and it burns. The bumper cars are fun to hit. We go to Ziggy's and get banana splits. We come back later that day to ride the Ferris wheel while the sun fades away. This is a poem written by my great friend Ashlyn Mastantuano, who couldn't make it today. Summer. I feel the summer breeze hit my hair as I close the door behind me. The sun is shining. It's a bright, cool morning. I see the garden starting to grow, walking down the damp path. Bees are buzzing all around, watering the dry plants. I know summer is coming.
Well, thank you very much, Ms. Nicole. It takes so much to get up here, too, at the podium, I know. And you guys did a fabulous job just having the nerve to get up in the front of all these people and to watch it. So you can actually watch this on YouTube probably tomorrow, starting tomorrow. Our meetings are actually broadcast live on streaming online, and then actually our YouTube channel for Grand Blanc Township will have this posted tomorrow, so you can have all your friends and relatives watching you be stars on YouTube, okay? But congratulations to all of you on fabulous work that you did. Those are fabulous poems. I hope you do something with them as far as sharing them with others, but thank you for sharing them with us tonight. Those were fabulous. Thank you, Ms. Nicole.
Now we're going to go celebrate at Ziggy's.
What's that?
We're going to go celebrate at Ziggy's.
Okay, and thanks for all your great work, too. Grand Blanc Township, is blessed to have some fabulous commissions and committees made up of residents that care about our community and that give it their all to make sure that our community stays beautiful and even improves. And one such committee is our Planning Commission, and they do a fabulous job and have over the years. We've seen, the development in the township back, in the 70s and 80s when things were going crazy, trying to keep up with it. We saw, during the recession, things slow down, and how do we make sure that we continue to have good development here, but also make sure we hold high standards. And even today with the crazy development that we're experiencing right now, and it's good crazy, but how do we make sure that our standards stay high? We know that, costs are a big concern for anybody building buildings, but we also want Grand Blanc Township, 50 years from now to look very good and appealing, and that takes some good eyes on plans when they come before the township. But this evening, we're going to consider accepting the resignation of one of our great Planning Commission members that's been with us for quite a few years. And so it's with a heavy heart that we're going to put forth accepting the resignation. But he told us a while back, or Mr. Bandersky did, that, hey, when you find somebody good to replace me, I'm ready to go. And that was, very much appreciated that he came to us rather than just, hey, I'm done. And so we really appreciate Mr. Bandersky's service to our township. I have a resolution here that I would like to present to you and read to you as well, Mr. Bandersky. I'll meet you up at the podium. Whereas it is with great pleasure that the Grand Blanc Township Board recognizes Vince Bandersky for his many hours and efforts serving on the Planning Commission since March of 2010. And he expended great effort working on the Planning Commission for over 13 years. And whereas he was an officer in the capacity of Secretary for the Planning Commission since December of 2011. And whereas he served on the Site Plan Review Committee for over 12 years and was an officer in the capacity of Secretary. He has reviewed 134 site plan review cases. A few highlights from some of the plans that he worked on. There's a few of them. JP O'Sullivan Beer Distributors, which is just in the process of, I don't think they broke ground quite yet, but it's going to be quite the facility. Grand Blanc Enterprise Park, which is brand new. General Motors Additions, WebTech, GM Battery Storage Facility, King Steel Railroad Spur, Bestwood Bowman National Headquarters, Elga Credit Union Headquarters, Magna, McLaren Regional Headquarters, Dorp Federal Headquarters, Credit Union, Security Credit Union Headquarters, and Credit Union, Fairfield Inn, many car dealerships such as Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram, Grand Blanc, Cadillac, Subaru, Nissan, just to name a few. The MTA hydrogen production plant and MTA facility, Yurt Village, Camp Kopniconic, and just so many more. Whereas he worked on the Grand Blanc Township Master Plan, and whereas he has dedicated himself to the planning of Grand Blanc Township, Genesee County, Michigan, from 2010 to 2023. Now therefore be it resolved that the Planning Commission and Township Board for the Charter Township of Grand Blanc, Genesee County, Michigan, extend our gratitude and heartfelt appreciation to Mr. Vince Bandersky for his service to our community. Thank you very much, Mr. Would you like to say a few words?
First off, I'd like to thank Scott for his trust in recommending me, and then also to the Township Board who approved it way back when, and over the years, the many reappointments to the Planning Commission. We've lived in Grand Blanc for 53 years, and we're very proud to be in the township, and I'm very pleased and honored to have served on the Planning Commission because we did a lot of good things. Scott just repeated some of them, and his opening comments were what I had written down, but that's okay, Scott. You know, I can say without any hesitation that your Planning Commission, you know, has worked very, very hard in trying to do the right things for the township through the Planning Commission itself, through the site plan reviews, and all the other discussions that we have had, the master plan, the ordinance, and so forth. So I can say that they've worked very, very hard in trying to help develop the township going forward, and they will continue to do that because they have the township at heart. And so with that, I extend my appreciation to the township board, to the community, because they've treated us well, and it's been a great 13 years. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Bandersky. Well, we appreciate such a commitment to our township, and we do have the best planning commission. Mr. Ed Brown, sitting over here, is also passed a lot better since you retired from the planning commission. So, and we have a number of other planning commission members here. So, we appreciate it, all of your time and hours. And I know that you gentlemen studied those plans when you were on the, you know, going through different phases of development. So, thank you again. With that, the board will consider a motion for the resignation of Vince Bandersky from the Planning Commission.
I'll make that motion.
Dr. Reardon makes the motion,
Okay.
and if you want to second that?
I'd be happy to second.
Okay.
Motion, bear with me, let's see, motion by Raridan, supported by myself. Okay, let's see. Trustee White?
Yes.
Trustee Raridan?
Yes.
Treasurer Kilmer?
Yes.
Myself, yes. Supervisor Bennett?
Yes.
5-0, motion passes.
With that, I also have the nameplate from your nameplate as a board member. You can put that on your desk at home.
I would like to make one more comment. You know, I would like to thank my wife, Marilyn, sitting over here.
Here, here.
She was going to kill me if I said anything, but for all of those late dinners that she had to fix because the Planning Commission never ended too early and many times too late.
Yes.
So with that,
We would like to thank her as well. Okay, with that, we're going to move on to presentation of badges and swearing in. We have our chief, fire chief, Chief Burdett. Good evening.
Good evening. I apologize that our full force is not here this evening. We've had a bad structure fire this afternoon, and many of them are there, and I'm sure you'll appreciate that they are not present for one reason or another. However, we do have 4 individuals that we'd like to bring forward for the badge presentation, and that's Brett Conley, Sean Blakemore, Lauren Simpson, and Jonah Tetmeyer.
So we have a structure fire this evening going on.
At 10 to 5, yes.
Wow.
So,
So we just hope that they're all
just sent
safe.
a picture
and-
of it, and it's pretty bad.
Okay.
So
Let's hope they're all safe and that,
everybody's just fine. So it's my honor to present these 4 individuals. We still have another 2/3 that we're going to be swearing in on June 27th. Hopefully we won't have a bad house fire that night either. But happy to say Jonah finished his firefighter 1 and 2 certification at Oakland Community College just recently. And Sean is what I'm going to call a retread. He left the department for a short period of time and came back. And Lauren just completed his with the Genesee County Fire Academy. And Brett has been with fire service for quite some time. He's actually with the State Fire Marshal's office. He's from Lapeer Fire Department.
Okay.
So I'm going to turn it over to you, Mr. Robertson, if you would, please.
Thank you very much, Chief. Appreciate it very much. Congratulations again to all of you. If you would raise your right hand and repeat after me. I do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of this state, and that I will faithfully perform the duties of the office of firefighter in and for the Township of Grand Blanc, County of Genesee, and the State of Michigan, according to the best of my ability, so help me God. Congratulations, gentlemen. Thank you, Chief.
So if I can have the wives, significant others, if you want to come up and pin the badges. We forgot to get the gauze, I'm sorry.
Congratulations. Congratulations. Good show. Thank you. Congratulations. Come on. Oh, yeah. Sorry. Thank you so much.
It's all right. Your arm reaches. That's fine.
Come back. Okay. Glad you're here. Well, we'd like to congratulate all of you, and we appreciate your dedication and service to Grand Blanc Township. And we look forward to many years of service, and again, we appreciate your commitment. With that, we're going to take just a few moment break. We know that not everybody wants to sit through the rest of our business meeting this evening, so we'll just take a 2 or 3 minute break, and please feel free to gather out here in the main lobby and talk as long as you'd like. Mr. Brown?
Do not let Dan Druski out of this building.
Okay, well, we'll tell some of the people in the back of the room not to let them leave, but anyways, feel free to gather out in the lobby, and we appreciate everybody being here tonight, and congratulations to all of your families and spouses and significant others that are here this evening too. We appreciate your commitment to helping to have your firefighters here helping our community. We know that it's sacrificed upon your families as well, so thank you. So with that, we're just going to take 2 or 3 minutes, and if you want to meet out in the lobby, we'll continue with our meeting in just a moment. Okay, I think we're ready to get rolling again here. So with that, we will move on to the approval of the consent agenda. Does anybody care to make that motion? Dr. Raridan makes the motion, supported by Mr. White.
Motion by Raridan, supported by White. For the consent agenda. Consent. Trustee White.
Yes.
Trustee Raridan.
Yes.
Myself, yes. Treasurer Kilmer.
Yes.
Supervisor Bennett.
Yes.
5-0, motion passes.
Thank you. Under old business, our topic with regard to strategic planning is branding. And we have Melissa Roberts, our executive coordinator, with us this evening to give us an update.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I'm going to keep this very brief because we have a busy, busy agenda, and we already have had a busy agenda.
Well, we don't want you to cut it short.
Right? Let's just keep it going here. The branding portion of our strategic plan is mostly completed. There's quite a bit of it that's completed. There's quite a bit of it that it has been completed. We still do want to do a little more signage within the township. Another item that we want to do is the overpass signage. We've talked about doing that possibly when we do construction on one of the overpasses. That might be the optimal time to do that. But that's going to be a large expense, and so we have to plan ahead for that. Lighting the water tower is also something that we're looking at for branding, because as you come into our community and it's dark out, wouldn't it be lovely to see that gorgeous water tower there off of I-75?
Absolutely.
So that's kind of where we're at on branding right now. But I did want to talk a little bit, kind of veering off of the subject, on our beautification efforts, because that's part of branding our community.
Yes.
This is Scott's brainchild. We have had 2 community cleanup days with 40+ volunteers and countless bags of garbage. And Clerk Robertson has been out to both of them. We had a lot of different groups that volunteered along with individuals. We had some board members. We've had some churches. It's been really fantastic to see the community come together for this. We also have a beautification committee. On that, we have about 30 to 35 participants. And they've been fantastic as well. A lot of input, things that we wouldn't necessarily think of that they've brought to our attention. So it's great to talk to people within the community about what they want to see. We got 12 planters along with the plants to go in them through a grant from the Community Foundation of Grand Blanc. If you look over here, you can see the planters. They're very large. They are self-watering planters, so we'll water them once every couple of weeks. And then that'll keep those flowers really nice and low maintenance costs for us. Those should be planted next week. So it doesn't look like we're getting any frost this week, just in case you didn't notice. But last week, 30.
This week, 90.
This week, 90. I don't know. We also have 7 flower beds that we've created at different intersections throughout the community. Those will be planted, hopefully, well, the plan is to plant them next week, and again, I don't see any frost coming, so we are planning on planting all of those next week. Those are being planted by different community members. It might be like Faith Lutheran Church is doing I-75 and Holly Road. Algo Credit Union is doing 475 and Hill Road. We have a group from the Grand Reserve that is going to do Saginaw and Baldwin. And then we have another group from the township that's going to do Grand Blanc and Dort. And then we have 6 additional planters, so we'll be planting some at Hill and Fenton Road. And just so you know, all of these plantings that we're doing are all sponsorships. They've all been sponsored by different businesses that Scott went out into the community, he went to the chamber meetings, and people donated money to go towards this effort. So we're very blessed to live in this community with all these people coming together. It's been really eye-opening.
If anybody would like to assist with the planting at Grand Blanc and Dort too, any board members would love to have you. We haven't planned the date yet, but I don't think.
Next week.
Next week sometime, but we'll take whatever board members want to help. Otherwise, we'll get some family members and whoever wants to help put those in. But we have a plan for each one of that. Melissa done a phenomenal job meeting with Vienna Township and with the professional greenhouse people to plan out the planters, wrote the grant for the planters. So the beautification effort along Saginaw Street is also, it's branding, beautification, they kind of flow into each other, as well as our whole idea of doing something to strengthen the community here in the north part, which we're referring to as Point North. But our goal is to build on this. This is our first year doing it, but our plan is to go from here and make this a permanent thing in the township at the intersections and along Saginaw Street, what have you. But you've done a great job with this, Melissa, too. So anybody wants to help with that planting, see me after the board meeting or Melissa, and we'll figure out where we can plug you in. I do love the idea of lighting the water tower, though. I've seen the one in Novi at night. I think it says Adele on it, and it is, you can see it from a mile away, and it's not gaudy. It looks beautiful, but you're going to be able to see that water tower if we light it up from a mile away. So, anyways, everybody knows I've been harping on that for a while. So, all right, good deal. Anything else, Ms. Robert? Okay, thank you. Any questions for Mr. Roberts? Okay. With that, ARPA update, Mr. Limata.
So you have the, in your packet, there is the ARPA update that shows to date, again, $3.8 million was awarded. We do have all $3.8 million allocated to date. So far has been, there says $2.7 million remaining, but we have the $1.5 million on the fire station number 1, and fire station number 2 is approximately at $1.5 million, which took up the bulk of those funds. I did say last time that there was some concern with the debt ceiling legislation pending in Washington, that a portion of that would be to claw back. I haven't seen anything come out on the finality of that, whether they're looking to claw back those funds. I'm sure we'll get more information as we move forward, but we did have 100% of the funds allocated before that legislation would have taken place. So I feel fairly confident that we'll be able to move forward and be able to expend the money that we have.
Okay, any questions or concerns for Mr. Limata? Okay, thank you. Moving on to new business, we've already covered item A with Mr. Van Dersky. Item B, the board will consider a motion for the appointment of Andy Andre to the Planning Commission for a partial term from June 2023 to July 2024. And we actually have Mr. Andre here. Care to say anything, Mr. Andre? Welcome. We're pleased that you accepted our encouragement to join the Planning Commission.
I thank you very much, and those are some big shoes to fill with Mr. Bandersky in the 53 years that he's been a resident. I've been a resident for 18 years. My background is in design, engineering, construction, and land planning, and so I think as we've seen a transition, Mr. Bennett, as you had mentioned, the development of Grand Blanc, the township, since we moved in, and we say that, and this is our home, and we've made it our home, and I look to, apply myself in any way, shape, or form that might be beneficial to the residences and the businesses here within the township, taking my background into consideration, and just very honored to be able to partake in this and be able to serve. So really appreciate the opportunity.
Thank you, Mr. Andre.
Thank you.
Okay.
So,
somebody care to make that motion?
Is a motion in order, Mr. Supervisor?
Yes, Mr. White makes the motion. Supported by
White.
Dr. Reardon.
Supported by Reardon. Okay, very good. Let's see, Trustee Reardon.
Yes.
Trustee White. Yes. Treasurer Kilmer.
Yes.
Myself, yes. Supervisor Bennett.
Yes.
5-0, motion passes.
Congratulations, and thank you again, Mr. Andre. Item C, the board will consider a motion to approve the annual renewal of the CityWorks AMS system for $26,787.26 and authorize the Township Superintendent to execute all related agreements. Mr. Sears, good evening.
Good evening. So the board's heard about this before. We renew this annually. This is one of our asset management programs that we use in the DPW. We use it to track and record all of our maintenance activities out in the field. It also gives all of our technicians access to our mapping systems and all of our maintenance records and any attached plans or as-builds out in the field too. So they don't have to come back to the office to pull those records if they need it, some background on a particular job. The increase you have tonight does represent about a 5% increase from 2022, which we did anticipate. So this is a budget activity for this year.
Okay. Any concerns, questions, thoughts? Okay. Motion's in order, if somebody would care to make that motion. Motion by Clerk Robertson, support by Mr. White.
Supported by White. Very good. Trustee Raridan.
Yes.
Trustee White.
Yes.
Myself, yes. Treasurer Kilmer.
Yes.
Supervisor Bennett.
Yes.
5-0, motion passes.
Okay, thank you. Item D, the board will consider a motion to approve an agreement with the Genesee County Road Commission allowing the township to continue to plow and salt subdivision roads and allow the Genesee County Road Commission to continue providing the township with 300 tons of salt per year and authorize the township supervisor to execute said agreement. Mr. Sears?
Hello again. So I was approached by the Road Commission 2 weeks ago that there was a long-standing agreement to provide the township with salt as long as we salted the roads, because our desire is to do that to provide a quicker service to our residents. That agreement had lapsed several years ago before I even came here potentially, because I've never seen one. And so this is basically renewing that agreement. It is going to be a continuous agreement, so it'll automatically renew each year. And all it does is gives them records for their financial documents showing that they provide us with 300 tons of salt a year, and I guess gives the township some type of documentation stating the same.
And this is only for subdivision streets?
Correct, yes.
Out of curiosity, does that cover it?
300 tons probably does cover the roads that we salt. We end up ordering an additional probably 150 to 200 tons a year, but we also have a lot of parking lots that we do. So maybe it doesn't cover it entirely, but with the winters that we have nowadays, it comes pretty darn close.
Okay.
Let's see. Is a motion in order, Mr. Supervisor?
Yes, it is.
All right. If you'd like, I'll make that motion.
Okay. Supported by Mr. White.
Supported by Mr. White. Okay. Trustee White.
Yes.
Trustee Raridan.
Yes.
Treasurer Kilmer.
Yes.
Myself, yes. Supervisor Bennett.
Yes.
5-0, motion passes.
Thank you. Item E, the board will consider a motion to award the Grand Blanc Road Bypass Sewer Project to Zito Construction for $2,597,970.52 and authorize the township superintendent to execute all related contracts and documents. Mr. Sears?
Thank you. So as the board may recall, we've been discussing this sewer project for some time now. Back early winter, late fall last year, we recognized that the sewer system on Grand Blanc Road is over capacity and it needed to be updated. Also, we couldn't update it in place because Consumers Energy had done some construction over top of it, so we had to reroute it. Since then, we've been working through the design, working with property owners. We found a path through the farm field, which is directly across from Thorn Ridge Apartments, at which the sewer will head south and then cut back over to the west and reconnect to Fenton Road. Later on, there will be a phase 2 project where we'll have to upsize a sewer main on Fenton Road also, but that probably won't be till 2024, 2025 until we start talking about that. We accepted bids on May 9th, I believe it was. We only received 2 bids back. One was from Energy Mat Alliance, which is a contractor we're not real familiar with. The other one is for Zito Construction, who obviously is a local contractor and has done plenty of work for us. Energy Mat Alliance's bid was for $1.6 million, and Zito's bid was for $2.5 million. It's quite a substantial difference. As we were looking through the bids, we realized Energy Mat Alliance has no sewer experience, no sewer construction experience at all. They didn't provide any references, and they couldn't really give us any kind of backup as to why we should award them the bid. We did talk around. They're from the Brighton area. We reached out to the folks down there for Oakland County at the Water Resource Commission, and none of them had done any sewer work with them. It turns out they're a subcontractor who provides matting services for wetlands and stuff like that. So this would be their very first sewer project. When we asked them about their bid, if they were comfortable with it, they said they were comfortable with it, but we didn't get a real warm feeling when we had that conversation with them. Be that as may, we are recommending that we award the bid to Zito Construction. It very well could be, even though there's a $900,000 difference here, that we could make that up in change orders in the end if there was some major mistake made in their bidding documents. So Zito's a good company. Obviously, they've done plenty of work for us. We trust them. We trust their operators. We have a good standing relationship with them. Our engineering company, Real Professional Services, also has that recommendation. So.
Okay. Any thoughts, concerns, discussion? Mr. White?
I have some questions.
Sure.
We only got 2 bids. This seems low. Is it lower than usual? You're saying we only got 1 real bid.
It is lower than usual for sure. And it could be because most of the contractors are getting their work a lot earlier in the year now. And that's what we did hear from a few, because we have a list, or Real Professional Service has a list of prime contractors that they send this bid to, and then we publish it also. The contractors that they directly solicited and called and said this is available all said that they're full of work this year. Zito being local, they have local resources. I feel like that's probably why they could bid on it. This other company, I feel like they could probably bid on it because they don't have any other sewer projects. We would be their training ground, essentially.
Mr. Sears, do we do like a preliminary engineer's estimate for something like this?
We do. The estimate on this was $2.3 million.
So the estimate, and so actually over the engineer's estimate, they're only a couple $100,000.
Correct.
Couple $100,000 over what our engineers thought it would cost to do this.
Right.
So it's in the ballpark of what the engineer's estimate was, but you know, right now the times that we're in, it's difficult to get people to bid on a lot of projects, from what I understand. I mean, road projects, construction, you name it.
It is, and with all the infrastructure out there, infrastructure money that's out there right now, there's a lot of infrastructure projects throughout the state. So contractors are far and few between right now.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of them went away with COVID too. I mean, we had a few local contractors that we could use for smaller projects that closed up because they couldn't sustain a shutdown.
This is a pretty substantial project, though. Here, this is
a major project for sure.
And if it's screwed up, it'd be a major issue. Mr. Kilmer?
Part of the governor's fix the damn roads.
No, this one isn't.
Well, no, but I'm saying is that part of the reason that
problem. I don't think so.
No?
No.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
This money, a lot of the infrastructure money is coming from ARPA funds from around the country, you know, and, you know, that's where a lot of that money is coming from anyways to get this kind of work done.
Right.
Water and sewer. There's been, I mean, numerous large water projects in the area. I mean, look at Fenton Road. It's been dug up for over a year now with the water project down there. You know, you go anywhere in the county, you'll see, you know, I know that the KWA, with regard to projects, we're trying to put generators at, for example, the inlet over in Port Huron where the water goes into the system. I've been waiting over a year for a huge generator for that, as well as generators at other facilities that just can't get them. You know, they tell you a year, and then it's actually 18 months and even longer. So we're seeing continued delays with anything with regard to infrastructure, materials. And we thankfully bought a lot of the piping and things for the Enterprise Park, but had we not done that, that would have been delayed.
That would have been delayed substantially.
When are they gonna? When are they gonna start?
Construct.
Right.
It'll be started in June.
And
so
be finished.
It should be finished sometime early to mid-fall.
I'll make a motion that we accept the bid, the recommendation.
Okay.
I'll second it, if that's permitted.
It's a project that has to get done. I mean, it's undersized, and if it isn't, we could end up with some major issues from what I understand.
And Zito, I mean, they've been around here
forever. I mean, I worked when I was in high school. I mean,
Yeah.
way back.
Yeah.
So, and they've been good to the community.
Mr. White?
Is this a fly-by-night company, though? I mean, I get that maybe they don't have direct experience, but we're talking about a 50% difference in bids.
Well, I wish
$100,000 on a less than $3 million project is a huge difference.
I wish I could verify if they were a legit company or fly-by-night company, but there's nothing out there for them. Even when you go to their website, typically any kind of contractor, you go to their website, there's references on there, there's examples of projects. They have nothing. And they couldn't give us any examples of projects where they've been successful in this type of work. We've had a water main project last fall with a contractor that was inexperienced, and we didn't hire the contractor as a private development, but it was a nightmare. I mean, they were digging up water main that they had just installed because it leaked so bad. That's just, it's a waste of their resources and our resources to have to train somebody on a project this substantial. There are smaller projects that they can bid for to get their feet wet and build up on that experience, which is what a lot of these companies will do. They'll gain that experience and build their size over the years.
Yeah. I would be more concerned if the engineer's estimate was substantially less than where the bid came in. If that was way off, that would cause me to say, hey, how quickly do we want to move on this? But being that it's so close to the engineer's estimate, to me it seems in line. And the last thing, I've been around, well, not directly involved, but with inexperienced companies that maybe have done projects, not of our hiring, but of other developments here in the area. And when we end up having to teach them how to do it, it drains our resources here of having to basically spoon feed them every step of the way, and we don't have time for that.
And the projects end up taking twice as long as they need to. It is worth noting, Roe did look at the bid prices, and they said they're in line with what they're seeing nowadays. Now, buying and constructing anything nowadays is more expensive than it was 2 or 3 or 4 years ago. But they were uncomfortable with the lower bid based on what they saw for unit prices and stuff. And I trust them. And unfortunately, Scott couldn't be here tonight. He was planning on it, but something came up.
So we have, Rowe Engineering as our engineering firm. Yes.
Yeah. So who's responsible for the cost overruns then? I mean, if they're bidding 1.6 and I mean, there's so many change orders, aren't there? I mean, they're allowed.
No, I mean, if we accept the bid, it's our responsibility. I mean, we're going to have to pay for the project regardless of what it is. Regardless of what mistake they may have made. They do have bid bonds, but those only come into play if they pull their bid out from the bidding, which they didn't want to do because they knew we would collect on that.
So, if they're bidding 1.6 and it's really costing 2.5, we absorb the 900, and what happens?
The township's going to pay the actual cost on the construction. Whether we can go after them for the overages, I'm sure there's maybe some provisions in the contracts that, we could go into litigation or something for that. But I believe when we're accepting that bid, that, we're accepting that responsibility also.
Well, and, I'm wondering how you would ever hold somebody's feet to the fire on something like that, too. Do you want the project finished, or do you want them to just walk away and say, okay, we're not going to finish it? And then we're stuck with a sewer line that's incomplete. So, any thoughts, Mr. Lemata?
This one is a tough one to award because it's nearly $1 million, and Trustee White is exactly right. Maybe that's bid so low because they want to get into this line of work. They want to do sewer installation, so they're willing to bid it low. They got to start somewhere, just like Zito started somewhere, right? But what scares you is the fact that it could be change orders, and again, we have to approve change orders. So they get in and they realize that they can't do it for this amount, and they'll try to continue to send change orders. Well, we didn't understand your bid documents on this. One of the things when you look at this, if you look inside your packet, you see the engineer's estimate, and you see that breakdown, and you get to look at the difference between how those companies bid it. And you look, for example, one of the first things, clearing. engineer's estimate of 250,000. These guys came in at 67,000. Zito was at 126,000. You see those differences. So whenever we're examining these bids, that's what we do, is we jump on and we start looking for some of those big anomalies in there, right? To see it. Sometimes it's with dewatering, where somebody who really knows our area knows that they have to really understand the amount of clay we have and the amount of water. So going through their bid, I mean, you see a lot of them that are significantly different between the engineer's estimate and the two bidders. But when we had the Rowe Engineering review it and then call this company and say, are you sure? Because you're so far apart from the engineer's estimate and from the bid, are you sure you can get, do you want to review it? They reviewed it and came back and said, no, we're comfortable with it. So it's kind of a roll of the dice for the township. If we get into it, we either run into problems, they can't do it for 1.6 and they walk away, or they try to kill us with change orders. But it's nearly $1 million. So, I mean, I get it. I mean, Zito, we know Zito. They're located in the township. They live in the township. They've done a ton of projects here. They're always top notch. There's never a concern that that project isn't going to be done and done on time and done professionally. Right down to keeping the road swept clean at the end of every day and moving construction barrels out. I mean, they go above and beyond. It's always been a pleasure to have them do work for us. But it's $1 million, man, and I share Trustee White's thoughts on this. It's $1 million, you guys. And so do we look at these guys, and if their reputation and the references they provide us for the work that they did do comes back, is it worth taking a chance? Is it $1 million gamble for us? When Jeff and I had this conversation, I just kept saying, but $1 million, man. It's $1 million, right? Damn.
They didn't send any references back.
They couldn't give us any for sewer-related work.
And that, again, sewer's important. We can't have cracks. We can't have leaks. We can't have, I mean, we're going to have inspectors there, right? I mean.
That is a fact. Yeah.
So that's the question to the board is, can we gamble on something like this? And, they come in and maybe they did it as a loss leader. Like I said, they're just trying to get their foot in the door. They want to be able to do a good job, and then they're going to start going after more bids for sewer main work.
So I guess.
Go ahead, Dr. Reardon.
Yeah, at 1.6, would they be making anything off this? I mean,
That's hard to say. I mean, I couldn't tell you that as far as what they're getting materials for, how much their labor is costing them. I don't know. It's a very low bid compared to what, we've seen and what the engineer's estimate is.
One thing estimate at $2,050,000. They came in almost 22% below the engineer's estimate. Usually that doesn't happen. I mean, that's significant. Zito was, almost 27% above the engineer's estimate. But also, Zito's got his work all lined up for the year. This bid comes out, and it's also going to be one of those, well, we'll do it because it's in our hometown and we can mobilize right here, but we're going to make sure we're getting paid on it. So I understand why theirs was about, nearly $550,000 above the engineer's estimate, because they're like, we'll do it because it's here, but we don't necessarily need the work. We got a full slate planned for the year. These guys that were definitely, I just get the feeling their bid was like, we want to get our foot in the door. We'll do anything to get our foot in the door.
Well, 2 points. One is I've, in my past experience personally, is sometimes going with the cheapest. You end up paying in the long run for it, either through mistakes or cost overruns, what have you. But the other thing to secondly consider is that, and we're looking at issues and we ask for legal opinion, we ask for engineer's opinion. Those are valuable to me. I mean, we hire good people, experts to be able to advise us, and then when we discard what they say, it's kind of like I've been on boards that have done that. It hasn't been good. So I like to listen to what the experts say and their opinion. Obviously, we have to make our own decision, but I think, you know, what Rowe Engineering has said means a lot too. And, you know, Mr. Sears, we're paying for their expertise in this. So something that should also weigh heavy in our decision-making. Yes, Clerk Robertson?
Yeah, I'm of the opinion better safe than sorry. I mean, we are talking about infrastructure that we expect to last for a long time, and it's got to be done right the first time, because going in and doing patch-ups after the fact probably would increase the cost considerably. In order for them to make this bid a real bid, they would have to short both labor and materials, would they not?
Yeah, I mean, they don't give us their labor pricing. They just give us what the unit pricing is, and that includes their labor to install that. So if it's 200 feet of pipe, they give us their price to install 200 feet of pipe, and that includes the pipe, their labor, their equipment, and everything. I would assume so, but again, all I can do is assume that they know what they're bidding on, and they know what the current market prices are, and so on and so forth.
So the question really before us is the bid before us a legitimate bid? Can you see it going from beginning to end without there being add-ons after the fact? Knowing what you know about the cost of labor, the cost of materials, the cost of doing a project like this, is this a legitimate bid? And I have my doubts.
And that's a really hard question to answer.
Yeah, Mr. Kilmer?
Information we are given.
Well, one of the things that, and I don't think that we're considering this, but when you bid on something like that, when you put a bid out there and your bid is way low and they accept your bid for way low, if you can't do the job for that, then you have to pay the difference. As a contractor, you have to pay the difference to get that job done by, in this case, it would be they'd end up paying Zito. So, you know, I can see why they do not want to give up on the bid, because there's some definite penalties for that, for not carrying through your bid.
Right, and that's what I was talking about, the bid bond insurance that they had to give us.
Right.
If they were to pull their bid out, we could go after their bid bond insurance for the difference between their bid and Zito's bid.
So that might be why they didn't pull their bid out.
Very well could be.
Yeah.
Okay. I understand what you're saying, that if they were to pull out of the bidding process now, they could be liable.
Correct. They would be, because we would go after their bid bond, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Well, it's unfortunate that we didn't have more people bid. This is a project we need to get done, right, Mr. Sears? This isn't something that can wait a few years or whatever. We've got things on the line here that have to be done. It's unfortunate that the cost is, well, and actually it's in line with what we thought we were going to pay from what the engineer's estimate came in, right? I mean,
it's over. It's over, but I mean, it's
over.
Right.
I think, you know, my opinion is that I really don't want to chance it with somebody who's never done a sewer project before. But any thoughts, Dr. Reardon?
I'm wondering, Dennis, what do you really think? I mean, on this, you're pretty familiar with this stuff.
Again, when I looked at it, one of the things that really jumped out to me, 4,600 feet of sanitary sewer pipe, 18-inch. Energy Mat Alliance, 743,000. Zito, 1,374,000. That's just on cost of pipe, right? I mean, or putting in 4,600.
One more time on that difference, Mr. Lemina.
743,000 to 1,374,000. So $600,000 difference. The engineer's estimate was at 900. So I look at that, and it's like a lot of that putting in that sewer pipe. That I think that accounts for a great deal of that difference. I mean, $600,000 difference just in just the sewer main, and for somebody who's never put in sewer main, that's the red flag for me. But they still, if we award the bid, they have to uphold their bid. The only thing that comes in is if they can come after you with change orders. Oh, you guys didn't tell us that the ground conditions were this bad. You didn't tell us that, you know, this this had to be done or whatever. It would be, they would have to show fault within our bid documents, but it's not like this is our first time doing bid documents either. We're fairly confident in our ability to do the bid documents. I'm so hung up on $1 million, man. Dr. Brereton, I mean, is it worth it for us to award to this company for, nearly $1 million savings? And
we have to act.
Mr. White?
Well, I guess I have a couple of things. First of all, if we've never dealt with them, you're right. There could be the worst case scenario. It could also be the best case scenario, and then we find a trusted contractor that we get to bid on projects going forward. So to me, that sounds equally likely as the worst case scenario. I guess it sounds to me too like Zito is just like, well, we can put in the fattest bid as we want because we're going to be the only one and they're going to have to give it to us. Is essentially sort of the attitude I'm sort of getting is, well, take it or leave it. We can, fatten our profit margins here and you're going to give us the money because we don't think anyone else is going to bid on it. That's what it looks like to me. So, I mean, how long would it take us to maybe get more bids on this? I mean, this is essentially a no-bid deal is what we're dealing with.
I mean, at this point, we wouldn't be able to bid it this year. We'd have the same results if we get any bids. We're so late into the construction season now, we would have to wait till the winter to rebid it. We really don't have the time to do that. So, I mean, rebidding it right now probably isn't an option.
I move that we accept the bid.
So, Jude, you made the motion.
Yeah.
It was supported by whom?
Okay.
Dave?
Motion by Raridan, seconded by Kilmer.
Yep.
Okay.
Well, like I said, the dilemma is that we're dealing with something that is going to be around for the next 50 to 100 years, and I have seen us having to work with developers or not people that we've hired necessarily, but working with other people that we've had to step by step, and our people are not here to help tell people what their job is. It's to go out and inspect to make sure the job is done correctly. But when we get into having to try and help design systems and everything else, it's not good. Unfortunately, I think we're going to have to accept this one bid because we're in a corner and that this project has to get done. Unfortunately, the good thing is it's a local provider. They've proven to do good work and great work in our township in the past. We always hope that they're the best bid when it comes to road projects, at least in my opinion, because they do things right and they do them in a timely manner. So with that, I guess we
Shall I call the roll, Mr. Supervisor?
Sure.
Trustee White?
No.
Trustee Raridan?
Yes.
Myself, yes. Treasurer Kilmer?
Yes.
Supervisor Bennett?
Yes.
Motion passes 4-1.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Sears. With that, the board will consider Resolution 23-14 for the approval of a Michigan Liquor Control Commission special license application for the Luau fundraiser on August 11th, 2023. So basically, this is our fundraiser, the annual event at Bicentennial Park.
Yes,
Mr.
correct.
Kilmer.
Good evening. So yes, this will be our third annual Luau fundraiser at Creasy Bicentennial Park. It's been a pretty popular event for the residents and everyone here in the community. So as part of this application to be submitted to the Liquor Control Commission, it's required that the board approves a resolution to be included with this application. The application has been approved by the fire marshal and the police chief. There will be controlled exits and entrances that are staffed. There is fencing around the area. It will be located at the North Pavilion as it was last year. So just asking for approval of the resolution tonight for that, so we can get that submitted.
We've had no issues with any of the previous events.
No, correct.
So, any thoughts, concerns, issues? Anybody care to make that motion?
I'll make the motion, Mr. Supervisor.
Okay.
Second.
Okay, supported by Mr. Kilmer.
Supported by Mr. Kilmer. Okay, very good. Trustee Raritan.
Yes.
Trustee White.
Yes.
Treasurer Kilmer.
Yes.
Myself, yes. Supervisor Bennett.
Yes.
5-0, motion passes.
Thank you. Item G, thank you. Item G, the board will consider resolution 23-15 for the approval of a Michigan Liquor Control Commission special license application for the Ally Challenge from August 21st through the 27th, 2023. And, yes.
I have a question.
Sure.
How come we're doing this? I mean, in the first place, there are other entities or whatever that could be doing this. Is it our place to do this?
Yes, we did last year.
What do you mean, other entities? I'm not following you, Mr. Kilmer. You mean, why don't typical bars have to do this, or?
No, I understand that this is a temporary license for
Right.
the festival.
Right.
But we're not putting on the festival.
Right.
How come the people that are putting on the festival don't have to get the liquor license?
Well, in this case, we are approving a special license application, so we're not necessarily getting the license. Yep.
You want to go on this? Because it's interesting.
What happens with the LA Challenge is they have to suspend the liquor license at the bar. So they put the liquor license for the Warwick Bar into suspension during the time of the tournament, and the tournament folks have to have the special liquor license for the event.
I think technically that maybe the police department holds the license for just those limited days. And it doesn't mean we can charge on Delzer's tab, but I think technically you guys are holding it for those few days.
Okay.
And I presume, through you, Mr.
Yes.
Supervisor, I presume that's because of the relationship between the club and the PGA or the senior tour, whoever the sponsoring entity is.
By the Liquor Control
And-
Commission.
I feel it's a nuance in the Liquor Control Commission's processes.
Okay.
They've got a lot of strange
So it's
laws.
a fair question, and the answer is kind of strange. But and again, we've been doing this process for quite a while.
I remember we voted on this last year, and we did exactly, it's the same petition.
The Liquor Control Commission has a lot of laws that are kind of different. Same reason, there's laws against having the name of your facility printed on your bar napkin.
Really?
In Michigan. Absolutely. You can't have a beer company on the bar napkin or on the glassware. There's lots of different things like that. But anyways, this is probably one of the more complicated ones. But anyways, we've done it every year, and we haven't had any issues out there, Chief? But, okay. So with that...
motion is in order, Mr.
Okay. Somebody care to make that motion?
I'll make the motion.
Okay. Supported by Dr. Reardon.
Supported by Raritan. Okay, very good. Trustee White.
Yes.
Trustee Raritan.
Yes.
Treasurer Kilmer.
Yes.
Myself, yes. Supervisor Bennett.
Yes.
5-0, motion passes.
Thanks. Item H, the board will consider motion to approve the purchasing of the monument and station signs and removal of the existing sign at the Baldwin Road Fire Station from Signs by Craney for $20,297.28, and authorize the Township Superintendent to execute all related documents. Good evening, Chief.
Good evening again. Earlier this month, we sent out requests for bids to 4 local companies, Signs by Carini, Bilkar Signs, Signorama, and Berry Signs. Unfortunately, we only received 2 bids back, one from Bilkar Signs, the other one was from Signs by Carini. I'm asking this evening that the board approve the purchase of the station sign, which is, if you want to see it, it's just like the one out here in front of station number 1. It's the Maltese cross with the station insignia underneath it. And then remove and replace the present monument sign that is at station number 2. The monument sign at station number 2 is facing the wrong way. It's facing towards Baldwin Road instead of east and west. So it has to be moved and changed. And I believe Supervisor Bennett just handed out some renderings of some signage that was given to us. We're looking at option number 2, which is the white background with black lettering, would be the one we want to select for that.
I like that one.
Was it this one?
Yeah, this one right up here is, I think, what we're considering, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that looks very appealing.
Okay.
And then the one on the building will be identical to what we have on the building here?
Yes, correct. And that'll be between the 2 garage doors or the 2 apparatus bay doors on the building itself.
Okay.
Okay.
Very good.
Requesting
Mr. White?
funds for the payment of this.
So there's a reason, okay, I guess my question was, what's wrong with the one we have? But it's 90 degrees off?
That's correct. You cannot you don't see the sign heading down Baldwin Road until you've already passed the fire station.
Well, really, we should blame 7 boards ago.
Yeah.
Okay.
Approximately.
Fair enough.
Could probably go a little bit higher.
I've been by there not too long ago, and I'm like, I didn't know if there was something structurally wrong with it. I was wondering why we needed a new one.
That is really the only reason why.
Thinking?
And what I'm understanding, the reason why it was put that way is because into the right-of-way of Baldwin Road, so this would be moved back a little bit, so it could be properly placed. Okay?
I think the current sign still says fire station number 3.
It does. It does say number 3 right now.
Does it really? Okay, all right.
So we have to change it either way.
Right.
The sticky note that covers number 3 is to number 2 is not holding
Right.
very well.
Okay, so motion's in order.
I'll make it.
Okay.
By Kilmer, supported by myself. Record roll call, Mr. Supervisor?
Yes.
Trustee Raritan.
Yes.
Trustee White.
Yes.
Myself, yes. Treasurer Kilmer.
Yes.
Supervisor Bennett.
Yes.
5-0, motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Item I, the board will consider a motion to authorize the Township Supervisor and Clerk to sign the Kearsley Creek Interceptor Phase 1 agreement between Genesee County Drain Commissioner's Office and the Grand Blanc Township for the participation in the KCI Kearsley Creek Interceptor Sewer Project. Mr. Limata?
This has been obviously a long process, as you guys are well aware. We're finally at the point where Oakland County has locked down all of their funding and they're prepared to move forward, and it's going through all of their various approval processes. The other municipalities within Genesee County have all considered and approved this, I believe, David, from your perspective, or from Atlas and Davison?
Yeah, I think for sure Atlas has, and Davison, if they haven't yet, they're going to.
And so I held off and we went through, we reviewed it, David reviewed it, Director Sears reviewed the agreement. We had a few questions about it. In the end, we're satisfied that the agreement is good. One of the questions biggest question that came up was who was going to hold the additional capacity that was being built into the system. And initially we had said we would do it, but as long as we were then going to determine who and when we sold that capacity to and for how much. That was enough to push the Genesee County Drain Commissioner into they're going to hold the additional capacity. So we're going to pick up what we have. They're taking the $5 million in ARPA funds off the project for everybody that we secured from the county through our application. Then there'll be the Grand Blanc Township. It's noted in the document that we'll take $1 million off from the additional ARPA funds that we receive for the county. And then we will only be purchasing our amount of our capacity. The Drain Commission will carry the extra capacity to sell somewhere into the future. I feel very confident that we hammered this thing down enough and reviewed it enough times that we're at the agreement and we're ready to go.
Okay. Any concerns, thoughts?
Okay.
Questions? Mr. White?
I guess I'm the only lawyer on the board, so maybe I should have read it a little closer. But who are we bonding with exactly? Is it with Genesee County Water and Waste? Are they going to be are they the ones financing, and we're essentially financing through them? Is that
Yeah.
kind of a way of?
They're going to use a state revolving fund, which like 1.85% or something for 20 years. The good news about using that SRF funding is that there's a 10% principal forgiveness. So we'll get 10% of our costs will be reduced after so many years. They'll take the 10% principal forgiveness off. But really, it goes into great length to talk about all the bonding and everything in this agreement. And in reality, it's SRF funding that they've already been approved for, and we're going to have to pay our portion of those funds to the county.
Dennis, also, we consulted with Roger Sweats just
Yep.
on the bonding issue, and because it was a little bit intricate the way it was printed out, but the way Dennis explained it is actually the way that it affects us. So he's got it exactly right.
Well, we've discussed this project for over a year now and had our concerns answered, and I think we've tossed it around quite a bit. Anybody have any final thoughts before we take a vote here?
There will be a phase 2 to this Kearsley Creek Interceptor project that will come to you at a later date. I don't like the agreement that they provided so far, at least a preliminary agreement, so we'll continue to work through that. That'll be the portion that really goes from Tech Village through Woodfield. We had always initially decided, thought we were going to be abandoning the pump station over there. They're talking about keeping the pump station there, so we've got some more discussion to have in regards to what that phase 2 will be. But that'll be running the connections up through Grand Blanc Township to service Grand Blanc Township's portion up to that Saginaw Baldwin intersection.
Okay. All right. Anybody care to make that motion? Mr. White?
Mr. White makes the motion.
Supported by Dr. Raridan.
Supported by Raridan. Very good. Trustee White.
Yes.
Trustee Raridan.
Yes.
Treasurer Kilmer.
Yes.
Myself, yes. Supervisor Bennett.
Yes.
5-0, motion passes.
Thank you. Item J, the board will consider a motion to adopt the second reading of the Property Maintenance Code by reference to Ordinance 23-1. Mr. Lemata?
So I will, you guys went through the first reading of this, and again, as Attorney Laddie talked about the last time we did this, we're really going back to adopt the Property Maintenance Code of 2015. It's still the most recent one, and this is just a second reading. If we go through this, the next steps then are you guys approve this, we move forward, we get the posting into the paper, 30 days, it goes into effect 30 days after the posting is in the paper.
Okay. Any concerns, Mr. White? Make the motion. Okay.
I makes the motion, and I will second.
Okay.
Trustee White.
Yes.
Trustee Raridan.
Yes.
Myself, yes. Treasurer Kilmer.
Yes.
Supervisor Bennett.
Yes.
5-0, motion passes.
Okay, thank you. Item K has on here that I'll discuss the upcoming millage renewal for the police department. So we have a millage that will be expiring in the next year. In order to be timely, we need to get something on the ballot for this fall, correct, Mr. Lemata?
Well, your choices are, I put into the minutes, or into the notes section of your packet, but we have to have it to the county no later than August 15th if you want to include it in a November election ballot. Otherwise, you could consider elections in 2024. The issue is it expires on December 31st of 2023. We'll be allowed to put the millage onto your winter tax bills for 2023, but then we no longer have an authorized millage, so you're going to have to get it approved sometime, before those winter tax bills would go out again in 2024. Theoretically, you could wait right up till the November of 2024 election to have the millage question on the ballot, but that's cutting it kind of close from a budgeting standpoint, because if it failed for some reason and you just did a 1 mill renewal, we would suddenly have to balance a budget that would have a $1.5 or $1.6 million shortfall in the general fund if the millage wasn't approved. If you put it on as a ballot question now, if it were to fail for some reason, you'd have the ability to come back and ask at another election. So you're giving yourself enough time if that were to happen. Now, personally, I don't believe that the millage will fail. Our police department has enough accolades and tremendous support from the community. I think it will pass. The other question before you, and I know Clerk Robertson will hate me for saying this, but if you're going for a 1 mil renewal or if you're going to consider any type of increase in the millage, to help pay off the unfunded liabilities now that we've been able to negotiate the end of the defined benefit pension plan. Your short-term costs, as we've discussed in the past, are going to rise. Long-term financial success for the township, best thing you could have possibly done. Short-term, your costs are going to rise over the next 10 years or whenever we get into a position where we could potentially bond out of this again. And so I would encourage you to at least look at it, not to pick a number, but to at least consider the fact that a 1 mil renewal brings you in about $1.5, $1.6 million. Would you consider 1 mil, 1.25, 1.5 mil to help retire that unfunded liability and keep us on track?
So just a couple of points. I'll get to you, Mr. Kilmer, just a second here. So right now, budgeted for 2023 calendar year for our police department is $9 million roughly. The millage that we currently have of 1 mil brings in, as Mr. Lima stated, about $1.5 million, which is about 17% of the needed revenues to run the police department. We did end the defined benefit retirement program, which we appreciate, working with our police unions to get that done. It's been a long time coming, and we were glad that we're able to come to a resolution. In the long term, it's going to save taxpayers a fortune, and will also make the financial stability of our township much stronger. However, in the short term, it's going to cause us to have some added expenses. I just wrote a newsletter article that will go out with our tax bill, I believe, or I'm not sure when it's going out, but one of the things that I wrote was that we just reached a new milestone. It's been 16 years, Dennis, now, that we are just now reaching 2007 taxable value. Imagine that. Over the past 16 years, we have run this township on basically the same amount of revenue as what we had in 2007. And that's at 2023 costs. So we've done a very good job of, the staff here, our department heads, Mr. Limata and board have kept things in line and operated on some very tight budgets. This 1 mil generates, $1 million for a $9 million budget for the police. I know when we put out the Ms. Roberts put together a spreadsheet that showed where your tax dollars go. And, one of the complaints from residents was, how come just a small portion? I think, basically Mott Community College gets more money than our police department when it comes to millages. And it's like, well, voters decide on it, not this township. I think some people were under the impression that we decide how to divide up that tax money, and it's actually, the voters who vote on that. But just keep in mind, we're going to have some added expense with having ended that defined benefit program. And I think our taxpayers will appreciate that. And we have to figure out a way to pay down that additional cost. Mr. Kilmer?
I'm not clear whether this is a renewal or this is a new tax.
Well, it depends on what wording you want to look at, but basically we have a 1 mil millage right now for police. It's coming to an end. Okay. So if you it would be worded that it's a new tax because there is no such thing as a renewal. It is being renewed, but the legal language will say, it won't say anything about a renewal. It will say that it basically, this is a millage.
We can soften that language a bit, but it is, if we're overriding or raising up the Headley rollback, then it's considered technically a new tax.
Oh, okay.
So the language, you know, our community supported the last time there was a millage. 76% voted in favor of it. And that was for a 5-year renewal, a 5-year millage at 1 mil, which, like Mr. Lima mentioned, raised about $1.5 million towards the $9 million budget. So basically, Mr. Lehman, any thoughts on what our additional costs are going to be over and above what they were previously, having ended the defined benefit?
You know, I'm not an actuary. I can't give you that. I mean, it's going to take. I mean, it'll be really interesting. I know that the MERS actuary reports are just starting to come out. I saw on the listserv today another like-sized municipality just received theirs. We usually get it, you know, in June, so this is a little bit early. I hope we do get it early. That will be a pretty good indicator because last year was a tough year for investments, right? So let's see how we fared. But you also have to be cognizant of the fact that the number of retirements in our ranks are going to be considerable over the next few years. I think we've got another, you know, is it going to be about like 4 this year? Another 3 this year. 3 coming. 3 next year, and the year after that, we've got some for 4 years. We've got every time somebody drops off from there, the township picks up that share, right? We've got less people paying in without new hires being brought into that program. So again, we knew that going in, that there's some short-term pain for the long-term gain of being financially stable long-term. But those are going to have an impact, and that will start getting factored into those actuaries now. But I don't have a way of, you know, of giving you a dollar amount other than know we have to be prepared for it.
So maybe next month we'll have the actuarial back, the report back, and have a better idea what those numbers are going to look like. What is the deadline that we need to act if we were to put it on this year?
August 15th.
August 15th. It has to be at county by August 15th by 4 o'clock.
Yeah. You know, it's the when I hear complaints of, hey, our taxes are too high in Grand Blanc Township, I make sure I try to point out to them that, you know, 17% of the property taxes they're paying actually stay in the township. The rest of it goes to everybody else in the county. I'm also, you know, proud of the fact that you can look at, I mean, I've dug through the records to find out when the last time we raised our tax or our millage for general operations, and I can't find it. We've gone back, you know, 20 plus, 25 plus years, and I don't see an increase in there. I don't know how long we've been charging 1 mil for our police department, but I got to imagine that hasn't changed in quite a while either. And I'm proud that we've been able to hold the line on taxes. And like I mentioned earlier, we've been operating on significantly reduced revenue over the years. So with that, any thoughts? Dr. Reardon?
So to answer your question, I think it was 1982 for the police millage.
What was it prior to that?
That was when we raised the one. We
didn't have any millage before. Okay.
But if we do this, so we can, if we were to raise it, I would want to put language in there that 0.5 or 0.25 or whatever would go strictly to the
pay down the retirement.
Pay down. That way, future boards couldn't say, well, you know, you got the 1.5 and
right,
and then fill it once it's done.
That if there was any, if we raised it higher than the current 1 mil, that it would be devoted towards going to the unfunded liabilities.
I mean, I think that should be a consideration.
Mr. Lemon, do you know off the top of your head, what is our unfunded liability right now for the police?
Great question. I mean, when we're looking at it, we were about $12 million.
Right.
What happened last year? Did it add $4 million? I mean, I just, until I get that report, I don't know.
But just for our public knowledge, it's, 10 million plus that is owed by the township for basically promises that were made over the past.
And as a percentage of payroll, I mean, we're pushing at 30% of payroll with the way we negotiated, and it's a sliding scale. It's going down from an employee percentage that they pay. We're going to pick up more of that, instead of it being split like we had in prior language. We're going to start pushing towards 40% of payroll. And, it could go up, right? It just depends on what the market's doing. That, as an employer, we're going to pay, we were at 27.46%. Now we're up at 30. We're going to move, we're going to start moving depending on what the actuarial, what they determine the amount we have to pay, because you got to fund your pension. And, it won't be surprising that if in a few years we're up at 40% of payroll, and then that becomes a concern.
Clerk Robertson?
Yes, I'm going to make the argument that Superintendent Lemata alluded to in his beginning remarks. Part of the reason we're seeing the rebound that we have, part of the reason why we are having the growth that we have, is because we have held the line with regard to taxes. And the victory that we had with the closing of the defined benefit system will be diminished if we raise taxes now. I believe a renewal is in order, but I'm not inclined to support it. And I would remind the supervisor and the other board members that we've all, as a board, expressed concern about this, because we don't know whether or not there's a recession coming, but there are warning signs on the horizon, and I don't know that that would be well received. The timing would be well received for anything other than a renewal. So I am making the argument that you've heard me make previously, and I continue to make it. So that's as much as I'll say for this evening. This is not an action item for this evening. This is just a discussion. Is that correct, Mr. Supervisor?
That's correct.
Okay.
At least I interpret it that way. Yes.
Do we have any other scheduled millages up? My whole thing is I don't want to have one election with just this, because then we have to pay for all of the, and get 7% turnout.
Right.
Is there a county millage? Is there a school millage too that we can piggyback off of and at least share some of the costs of doing this? Putting aside the actual millage part.
We haven't heard that yet for November.
We don't know yet.
Generally, we expect to see a school millage request, but we haven't heard anything yet.
But the point is noted, and we can act accordingly. That also, Mr. Roy. Yeah, I wouldn't want to just have one thing on the ballot and put the bill for that election.
We got it on there now. We really would like it to remain as an agenda item moving forward, just so that it doesn't get lost over the summer months.
Right.
Because if we're going to have it in there for August 15th, you guys are going to have some discussion on, is it just a renewal? If we do it this year, it can be a renewal. After November's election, then it's a new millage because the other one will have expired. So you're going to have to come up with the millage amount and what election you're going to run it on. And again, you have till 2024, but if we're going to wait till 2024, let's make that decision so that we know that we're going to put it on whenever the presidential primary is, where there's going to be a bigger turnout, to Trustee White's suggestion, whenever they're going to hold that in 2024, which remains also up.
Still up in the air.
Right. Okay, we will continue to discuss this at our upcoming meetings and see if we can come to a consensus, but it's something that we should all be thinking about and considering where we're going to be with this, but it'll be interesting also to see what the actuarial comes back with. Okay, with that, moving on to item L, I wanted to discuss a residential transportation streets task force with board members this evening. and I'd mentioned this previously, but the idea is I put in your packet kind of an outline of what it would entail, but I had stated that, you know, Grand Blanc Township has some of the oldest and largest residential developments in the county. Unfortunately, the developments have some of the worst street conditions according to Road Commission. And basically today's streets are built to last 15 to 20 years. However, most of these subdivisions, which are between 25 to 50 years old, have never been repaved at all. And while residents of some of the developments have investigated the cost for the County Road Commission to repave them, they found it to be too expensive. So today we have subdivision streets all around our township that are in horrific condition and only getting worse and more expensive each year. So the intention of the committee is to basically help discuss, investigate, vet possible solutions to this ongoing issue. And our hope is that they'll make maybe some recommendations on some potential solutions for us to consider. What I would ask is that we ask these individuals to serve for a period of about 6 months, so basically meeting once a month for 6 months. The intention would be to have a couple of individuals from the Road Commission, a couple of individuals from our staff here, as well as possibly 1 or 2 board members, and 6 to 8 township residents scattered from around the township. Probably residents, both maybe some HOA presidents or neighborhood association presidents of both developments that have already paved their streets and those that are in need of it. So we're getting kind of a cross section. But I've heard, you know, numerous ideas thrown out from residents and suggestions, even from other elected folks and staff members. And I think this is one way to vet those. It's also a way to educate our developments also in terms of how road funding works for subdivisions. We have a lot of people that may understand it, but we also have quite a few that don't understand it. Mr. Sears and Ms. Roberts put together in the past month, I think we brought up at one of the previous meetings, you can pass that down and look at it, but basically a number of residential road projects are underway in our subdivisions. I'll pass this one on in just a moment, you can look at it, but you know, everything from Kings Point, Concord Green to Chatham, you know, well, Concord Green and Kings Point are basically in design stage right now, right? But we have quite a few, probably at least 6, 9 that are in the process of maybe getting petitions or some stage of getting petitions turned in or engineering. So we have quite a few that are interested. It'll be interesting to see how many actually, when they get the price, decide that they want to continue on. But this, when, you know, any recommendation they would come back with is non-binding, but it would be a sounding board for us to get input from throughout the township on possible solutions, but also educate, you know, a number of our developments on how this whole project, you know, when it comes to special assessments, how that works. Any thoughts, concerns?
I just had, like, I was in Sun Valley the other day, and those roads are horrendous.
Yes.
Now, would the county pay for part, since there's a school that, Myers Elementary is there, and you have 3 or 4 roads that are in bad shape?
Well, I'm not sure, the Road Commission, if you want to come on up, Mr. Sears, but the Road Commission, we had discussed at the advisory board meeting the possibility of being able to use the allocation that we receive in subdivisions on specific streets that are bus routes. And so that is a possibility, but the subdivision has to decide to move forward with paying for the rest of it. And if they were to do that, then the allocation could be used to pay for a portion of that development.
That's right. We can use allocation funds where there's schools. For instance, we're doing Russell Street over here this summer because we have Anderson and McGrath Elementaries right there. So we can put that towards the project. We also now offer the 20% match, up to $300,000 a year for these road projects. Sun Valley is one, they just had a petition last year, and it was defeated overwhelmingly. And it's actually, for as large as the subdivision is, it's a fairly cheap project compared to some of the others we're seeing because it has ditches and not storm sewer. So,
but like last year, I think we approved for Bella Vista because the county agreed to pay if we, because it was a cut through.
Yeah,
Right.
Yeah, we were able to use our allocation funds.
They changed what the road commission changed how they label that road basically to allow us to be able to use allocation. It was just considered a subdivision street, and then they changed it to being what, primary or?
Yeah, well, because our Paiser ratings are so good on our local roads, we're running out of local roads to use the allocation funds on. So that, and being Scott, talking to the road commission over and over again about this topic, they changed their policy so that we could spread those allocation funds towards some subdivision roads, one being where schools are. So like Sun Valley is a good, contestant for that, but it also takes a special assessment district to do the rest. Now, the adverse side of the schools being there is one of the reasons people did not sign the petitions is because there's school buses in there and they destroy the roads, according to them. So, they had the same issue over in Wishing-Well. A lot of people signed the petitions because there's 40 school buses that cut through that subdivision every day, twice a day. So they don't want to pay for it because of school buses.
I can understand that.
So, I know Mr. Robertson has his hand up. Part of this situation, and the reason why I want a committee to look at this is this has been an ongoing issue this isn't anything recent. And it continues to be a problem, and it's not going away. We can say it's not our problem, it's the road commission, but at the end of the day, our township, the appearance, we're doing everything from branding to beautification to having new development, as far as commercial. But if our neighborhoods are falling apart, because it starts with the streets, let's face it, it's kind of like the broken window theory that you allow one broken window or a couple of junk cars, and before you know it, the whole neighborhood, everybody, figures, why do I need to clean up my yard? And the street's the same way, in my opinion, that if we don't do something to figure out how do we make this work for all our residents, and people are looking at $20,000, $25,000 to pay for paving their street, it's, there's a lot of people that can't afford that, even spread out over 10 or 15 years. You're the one who talks with all these people. And
absolutely.
I'm sure all of them would love to have their street paved. I don't know anybody who wants to have a street that looks like a war zone, but they can't afford it, They can't afford it. Mr. Robertson?
Yes, thank you. Jeff, do we have a calculation for how much we would ask the school districts to contribute to road repair in the neighborhoods where their schools are located, or do we have we had even informal conversations about how much that might be?
Yeah, we've asked
neighborhoods.
We've asked them before. They won't contribute anything. Their response was state law says that they cannot spend their school dollars on infrastructure projects like roads. They can make those improvements to their campuses and their facilities, but they can't be outside of that purview, is what the response we got from, I think it was Clarence at the time. Or maybe it was Dr. Elward, I'm not positive.
Okay.
But we have had those conversations with them.
That rings true.
Yeah, we get people asking us to spend our money on private roads.
Sure.
And we tell them we cannot use taxpayer dollars on on private projects or on private property. We get people that want us to fill in a sinkhole or what have you, and it's like, we can't use your neighbor's tax dollars to do work on your private property, and I can understand.
So in terms of, Mr. Supervisor,
yes.
Through you to Mr. Sears, so if I understand you correctly, the carrot or the olive branch or whatever we can extend to those residents that live in neighborhoods that have schools in them is the allocation monies, the 10% of the county offers with the 10% that we offer to reduce the cost overall, and say this is what we can do to accommodate or try to accommodate.
Well, that's one of the things we're looking
It's
at.
two different pots of money. The allocation fund is different from the matching funds that we were able to put together this past year. This is our first year offering those. Both Kings Point and Concord Green were able to take advantage of those. And that was based upon us going to the road commission and maybe some other communities also, saying you have to help us support these subdivisions. They are your roads. So we agreed to match 10% each to road commission and the township, up to $300,000 a year. That's all the money we have. So it's kind of a competitive process. Sure. First come, first serve. But that's all we have. And then the allocation fund is different. Those are the 50-50 funds that we talk about each year that we put towards local roads, like the Gibson Roads drainage that we talked about previously, or Bella Vista we used that money on, Cook Road, stuff like that. You know, that's where the allocation fund generally goes. But since our Payzer ratings are so good, we're able to use those
So we have
in other areas.
attitude with regards to use the usage of some of those dollars. So you begin to put the 10% and 10% and then the allocation together, and maybe it starts to change the equation for the residents in a particular
It
neighborhood.
has, yeah. I mean, I feel like the Concord Green and the Kings Point were successful because those monies are available. And then we're having favorable results in Wishing Well right now because that money is available. It's not much to them because that's a $3.5 million project, but it's something. So, you know, I feel like we're making headway, but we can't come up with enough funding to pave the roads or really make a difference. Enough of a difference for people to automatically sign up for it.
Very good. Thank you, Mr. Supervisor.
So the road commission actually does Payzer ratings of all the streets, and they do the mainline roads much more frequently than they do subdivision. I think subdivision maybe every 3 years.
Yep.
But here's an example, and I sent these out to all the board members so you can browse through them. But here's one example, you know, of the basically Payzer rating of 8 to 10 is good, which would be in the basically the green, which there's only one small section there that has that green. 7 to 5 would be fair, 4 to 1 would be poor. You can see this map right here. All of it's just about red except for a few, you know, some yellow and maybe some blue. So they're all basically 5 or worse. So the bottom line is something has to be done, and we can find a way to educate people and find a solution. You know, I'm always of the firm belief that, you know, we have some of the best residents, and we put our heads together, maybe we can come up with a solution. Other communities have, maybe we can too. So there's no preconceived notions on what we think we're going to achieve, but if we don't try looking at this, nothing's going to happen. Yes,
I just have one question. So, like Myers Elementary, it has about a half a mile of frontage, if not more, on all those roads. Would the school pay their share of that, or
They don't pay assessments. They don't pay taxes, no assessments.
not even for the roads? So the roads that they're using. Okay.
Correct.
However, if it's part of bus route, then
we can use the allocation funds.
Right.
Well, we have to have enough allocation funds to cover everything.
And that's been our olive branch to the people who are fed up with the school buses, is that we're trying to come up with this funding to supplement where the schools are. It's important to note that those are the only 2 subdivisions that have schools in them, Sun Valley and Wishing Well. So it's not going to go far, you know, to many different subdivisions, but those are 2 that are pretty bad, so.
For sure.
Yeah.
Well, to keep things moving, anybody opposed to us, to me forming this committee and inviting people from around the township to participate? Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Sears. With that, future agenda items with regard to a strategic plan, we're going to be discussing a tech village and the DDA growth at our next meeting. Anything else on that, Mr. Limata?
Nope, that's, we'll give you a presentation on just an update on where we're at there.
Okay. Any board members have a report they wish to give? Okay. Mr. Laddie, anything?
No, sir.
Mr. Limata?
We got a couple things for you. We have a conditional offer out for the finance chief accountant's position. has been accepted. That's going through the background process, and I will update you as that moves forward. The Baldwin Road, if you haven't driven down it, has gotten that top cap on it now, so looks really good. When you take a drive down Baldwin, make sure you look up through the Grand Blanc Enterprise Park. They've got their roads, concrete roads all the way back through there, got some trees planted. It's really starting to shape up. We can talk more about that in the update in 2 weeks. I did make a proposal to the DDA. We talked about this when we had initially discussed bringing on the assistant superintendent's position. And I said one of the things we were going to be also going to the DDA and asking them to pay for some administrative assistance that they receive from us, both the superintendent's office and the finance office. And the DDA did vote at their last meeting to support for this year the sum of $65,430 that they will be reimbursing the township for our administrative work associated with that. And then finally, AFSCME Chapter W and V, that's our office personnel and our DPW service technicians, park maintenance workers. We're going into negotiations beginning on June 13th. We'll hold them June 13th and 14th to see where we're at. But because of that, your next board meeting is June 13th. I would respectfully ask you guys to consider a closed session for the purpose to discuss strategy connected to negotiation of a collective bargaining agreement.
I'll make that motion that we go into executive or closed session to discuss union negotiations.
Okay. That's
Is there
item
support? Support by Dr. Reardon.
Okay, item 11. Motion by Bennett, supported by Raridan. Let's see, bear with me. Trustee Raridan.
Yes.
Trustee White.
Yes.
Treasurer Kilmer.
Yeah.
Myself, yes. Supervisor Bennett.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0. We go into closed session at 7:55 p.m.
If it's acceptable, I'd like to just stay right here and meet. Is that good with everyone?
Okay.
Kick everybody out, although I would like to ask the Assistant Superintendent, Matt Kimmer, with the board's agreement to stay and sit in on this session.
Sure. We'll take a short recess for about 3 to 5 minutes, and we'll reconvene in our closed session here. Thank you, everyone.